Hi there, welcome to video tip 3. So yesterday we talked about the body going forward and back, and that loading one part of the body more than the other would lead to certain muscles in your body tightening up a little bit more, certain joints closing down a little bit more, and how that would kind of predispose you to having certain things happen in the body in terms of injuries. Now we're going to go into the side-to-side movement this time, and you'll really see a difference in what happens at your hip if you're in either one of these positions. So back up into standing, let's have a look. So I'm going to take my feet just a little bit wider here, and when you start to push across, if I put my hands at the widest part of my hips and I push across to the right and then back into center and even the pressure in my feet again, and then go to the left and even that pressure back out in the feet again. Now, what we want to look for is, does the movement feel easier going to one side compared to the other? Do you feel like you've got more movement going to one side or the other? And as you push your hip across, you'll notice that you become heavier on one foot. And when you come back to center, you even it out again. Now, one of the things that can happen is that we tend to take our weight onto one leg. And so we all have one leg that we kind of stand on more predominantly than the other. And so you'll notice that as I shifted my weight across to that right leg, if I have my hands still on my hips, you can see how much movement that creates in the hip. But you also can see in the angle in my legs. So at the moment, things are straight down. If I start to drift my hips across, the angle of the muscles and the angle of the joints is now on a diagonal. And so everything in the body has then got to adjust to that. So just if I stay in this position, if I'm pushing into my right hip, I'm opening up this glute and I'm closing down this side. And so for the rest of the leg, if I'm opening here, I'm closing here in the inner thigh and I'm opening on the opposite inner thigh. So the body always works in pairs and everything kind of opposes one another. And the same thing would happen if I tended to stand more to the left. So I'm opening the left hip, I'm closing the right, I'm closing the right inner thigh, and I'm opening the left inner thigh. And so all of these things impact on your hips. And so it's really important to be central with your weight so that you aren't putting yourself in that position. Now, what you can do is just drift into the space that maybe you felt more restricted in. So say, for example, my right side felt like it was tight and it was stopping me from going in that direction. So you could just work with going right and bringing yourself back into center to balance your feet out. And this is just one strategy. Obviously, anybody working with me, there are all kinds of exercises we can do to help balance it out, but it's important to know where you are, because then it makes sense why you've got pain and why you've got aches. And you can start to figure it out for yourself, what you need, because often people stretch areas that don't actually need to be stretched. They actually need to activate. And so it's important to know where you are first, rather than just applying a stretch for a general reason. So when I come back into center, even after doing sort of 4 or 5 of these, if I went back and I retested that movement, chances are I would find that this one feels much smoother and I've got more range there than what I had when I started. And so it's that simple. Little movements make big changes, and it's all about applying the right movement to affect the right change. So try this one out, notice what you feel, jot it down so that you've got a record, and I will see you tomorrow with the next tip.